shall go. Steve, teach us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, help and guide us to make the best possible decisions that we can make for the citizens in the city of Boonville. And thank you for this great weather, and please keep everybody here safe. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Steve. Roll call.
Young,
Here.
Meadows,
Here.
Robertson,
Here.
Hurt,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Venable,
Here.
Turner, Stock,
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Quorum. That's a hard word to say something. Hearing of citizens' comments, it looks like we've got some folks that want to tell us something. If you'll come up to the podium, tell us your name and what ward you live in, and then make your appeal. That would be good.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Whitehurst. I'm not sure what ward we're in, but we're right on Ashley Road, across from Howard Funeral Home.
Okay.
And we have a parcel of acreage that we want to sell. That acreage has easement from Farrell Estates on the back side of it. And we found out through just the grapevine that that easement's going to be taken away, where we can't get access to the back of that property. So we would like to discuss that.
Okay. The easement that goes down into Lake Farrell,
Yes.
is that what you're talking about?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yes, that it happens to be on the agenda. So
Right,
You're
right.
correct. Now, tell us again what it is that you want to be able to keep the easement?
We would like to keep these because we want to sell that parcel. My husband and I are getting older. It's a lot of land for us to take care of. And that parcel is by itself. And we want to sell that parcel. And so that easement is there for that purpose, to
Right.
get to that parcel.
That was to give access.
Correct,
Right.
correct.
And you're needing the access in order to sell your property or to value your
Right.
property.
Right, because where we at, up on Ashley Road, we've got the Eastern Pipeline on both sides of us. And I have discussed with them, you know, they don't want people going across causing, we had to take down a barn and a shed just last spring.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, an 80-year-old barn, they wanted us to relocate. You can't relocate an 80-year-old barn, so we had to have it all taken down and hauled away. And so if we give easement, which I don't think there's enough room to have easement off Ashley Road all the way back, the driveway would have to be really long for whoever bought the property back there. So we just pray that we can keep the easement back there to be able to sell the property.
And you just heard about this and then found out.
We heard about it. Nobody contacted us and let us know with our property being right there at the easement. Nobody contacted us on it.
Wow, thank you.
Sure, thank
What was
you.
your last name, Cheryl?
Whitehurst, Whitehurse.
could you please sign in on that sign-in
I
sheet,
certainly
please?
can.
And put your address and the ward and phone number that we can
Yeah, I'm not
contact you?
sure what the ward number is.
Just
What-
two?
If you're on, it depends on which side of the Ashley, right?
We're right across from Howard Funeral Home in that Earth
I think
Contact
that's
House.
two.
too.
Is that's still two on that side of the road, or is it three because it's on the other side?
You might be right.
I don't know, I'm just guessing.
You said 3,
Maybe.
maybe?
Maybe.
I'll put maybe 3.
Why don't you put 3-2 on there?
I don't think it's 2.
I've lived in that area all my life. My father bought this land 100 years ago. And I've always worked in Boonville, worked 30 years in the bakery, I worked 20 years in the machine shop, and we're just hardworking. I'm blue collar, she works in the office.
Right.
As she said, we're getting older now, and there's less land to manage, and we can use the money.
It's Ward 3.
Is it Ward?
It's
Yeah, I
Ward
can
3.
put the number.
That's because they're on the other side. Yeah, Okay, good, thank you for getting here when you did, appreciate that. Okay, anybody else? Oh, Mary Pat, hi Mary Pat.
I just came in under the radar.
Yes, and we even recognized you with the mask.
I'm Mary Pat Obley, and I'm here on behalf of Boonville Regional Library. I'm a board member and also the chair of the building committee for Cooper County. And I first of all would like to thank all of you for your support, your questions. I had a call from Al, and he asked to go down and look at the building, which I was happy to show him around.
And I appreciate that.
And I offer that to anyone else who might like to do that. I'd also like to recognize that we have several people here on behalf of the library. Our board president, our director, board members, and our local librarian. I ask you all to rise if you would. Rise? Oh, sorry. Everybody rise.
Hi, y'all.
Thank you all. And there are several others who would have liked to have come, but with the COVID situation, we're not totally comfortable. I also want to thank the Daily News for the 2 very informative articles they did on the library and on the taxes and how that was all being spent. And if there's anything along the way that we need to do to answer your questions, we would be more than happy to. And I have to tell you that my drive-by almost daily is down to the library and look at the parking lot. When I have my grandchildren with me, they say, "Grammy, we have to go see our new library." So anyway, thank you all so much. Let us know if there's anything we can do. If there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Too.
I want to thank you, Mary. You did a wonderful job, and I would encourage you, any and all of you, to go if you haven't seen it. It was worth seeing. I appreciate the time you spent.
Anytime, happy to do it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's great. Anybody else this evening? All right. Yeah, citizens' comments were closed. Approval of the minutes of September 8, 2020 council meeting and February 3, 2020 closed session council meeting. Are there any changes, deletions, or corrections? They will stand as submitted. There are no consent items. Presentation of the council claims.
Ordinance appropriating money be it ordained by the council of the city of Boonville as follows. Section 1, for the purpose of paying salaries and various accounts against the city of Boonville, which have been allowed by the council at the regular meeting thereof on September the 21st, 2020, the sum of $400,771.54. General fund, $167,572.22. Sanitation, $18,955.76. CIP tax, $4,961.02. Waterworks, $136,585.25. Capital projects, $0.00. Wastewater, $55,253.85. Tourism, $4,879.07. Gaming, $12,062.00. Parks and Water, $102.37. Kemper sales tax, $400 even. Section 2, the accountant is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on the respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $400,771.54, being the total amount of money above appropriated. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage. First reading on September the 21st, 2020, read for the second time this September 21st, 2020, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Mayor, make a motion this be approved.
Thank you, Morris. Is there a
I'll second.
Curtis seconds. Any questions, corrections? Roll call.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Venable,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Unfinished business, second reading of bill number 2020-018, approving final site plan for Spirit of 76 expansion.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, approving the final site plan for Spirit of 76 expansion at 1620 Mid-America Industrial Court, Boonville, Cooper County, Missouri, providing an effective date therefore, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Morris. Second. Curtis is on the second. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Hurt,
yes,
Carter,
Yes.
Venable,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Item B, second reading of bill number 2020-019, establishing two one-way traffic restrictions at Highland Drive entrance exit.
an ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, establishing two one-way traffic restrictions, one going westbound on the north lane of Highland Drive and the other going eastbound on the south lane of Highland Drive off of Main Street, providing an effective date therefore, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Make a motion to be approved.
Thank you, Morris.
Second.
Whitney's got the second. Thank you. Questions, comments? Roll call.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Hurt,
yes,
Carter,
Yes.
Venable,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Item C, second reading of bill number 2020-020, approving memorandum of agreement with Boonslick Regional Library.
an ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, approving a memorandum of agreement for property exchange between the City of Boonville and the Boonslick Regional Library.
Motion? Susan?
I
thank
move that
you.
we approve this.
Thank you. Very appropriate.
second,
Thank you, Teresa, for the second. Questions, comments? Do we want a roll call, Mary Pat?
of course,
Okay.
Young,
Roll call.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Hurt,
yes,
Carter,
Yes.
Venable,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
It's unanimous, Mary Pat, and all of you. Yes. It passes. New business, item A. Consider resolution 2020-06, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement to contract building inspection services between the City of Boonville and the City of Pilot Grove. And this is a resolution.
a resolution of the City of Boonville, Missouri, authorizing and approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Pilot Grove, Missouri and the City of Boonville, Missouri to perform building inspection services by the Boonville Building Inspector for the construction of a fire station and providing an effective date therefore. Whereas the City of Pilot Grove has new building construction, a fire station planned within its city limits, and whereas the City of Pilot Grove does not have the need for an on-staff building inspector and has asked the City of Boonville to provide building inspection services on a one-time basis to provide inspection services for the new fire station in Pilot Grove under the terms and conditions of the attached intergovernmental agreement, and whereas the Boonville Building Inspector believes that this service can be scheduled in such a way and is not too numerous so as to be easily accommodated during the normal business day. And whereas the City Council of Boonville, Missouri believe that this is an opportunity to share expertise to another community in Cooper County without any undue burden on the citizens of Boonville or city staff. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri shall approve and authorize an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Pilot Grove, Missouri for limited building inspection services as set forth in Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof as fully as if set forth herein verbatim. Section 2, that the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized to execute and attest said agreement on behalf of the City of Boonville. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be in full force from and after its passage and approval past this 21st day of September 2020 by the City Council of Boonville, Missouri.
Thank you, Teresa. The motion?
Mayor, I move that we approve this resolution.
Thank you, Whitney.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions or comments?
Do we know start date, think date?
They're starting actually, I think, this month, so, and then I don't know when they expect to be finished, but I guess weather might play into that. This is the same agreement we did for Dollar General, so, when they put Dollar General in Pilot Grove.
Good question, Albert. Anybody else? Roll call.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Venable,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Stock.
Yes.
We're obligated to read this one if we're gonna table it.
It's the first reading. It's the first reading.
It's the first reading. Okay, first reading of bill number 2020-021, vacating an unimproved street in Lake Farrell subdivision.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri vacating an unimproved street platted in the Lake Farrell Estate Edition known as Jayhawk Drive. I just want to make a few comments really quickly. So subsequent to planning and zoning taking it up, Steve received a call from, I believe, Ms. Derendinger, right? I think you called first.
I think I got Jeff.
Okay, about it, and we went back through our records, so part of our challenge when Steve and I were trying to figure out why this street was platted was that between the platting of the street, which we have in this, and when they did a minor subdivision in 2012, the street name changed to Selwyn Place or Selwyn Lane, I don't know why. So when we did a Jayhawk Drive search, nothing showed up, so we couldn't find anything about it. Once we figured it out, it happened in 2012 when you guys did the minor subdivision. There's half of that lot is in the city of the 12.8 acres, and, well, a small portion is in the city, and then a significant portion is out of the city. The part that's out of the city is what connects to the Jayhawk Drive or Selwyn Place, whichever street we want to name it. So we met today and visited that we're going to look at some of these issues. There's multiple facets from the subdivision. Depending on if they were going to subdivide that property again, then that back parcel would need to be annexed in. So all of those discussions need to be decided on before we can do this. And also we want to try to find someone at Panhandle Eastern because we're unclear what the rules actually are, because obviously there are roads all over the Panhandle Eastern pipeline, as well as structures. So we're just trying to figure out what is allowed and what isn't allowed, so we can figure out kind of how to peel this onion, I guess. So,
That's good. Sounds like it's got lots of layers.
yeah, it's more than just one access issue, so.
Can I try and get a simple question?
Mhm.
That kind of lies east-west. That, it goes
Yeah.
around the corner, but it
Yep.
kind of lies east-west.
Right.
What you're saying is that the eastern portion of that piece of property is not in the city. Is that correct?
Yes, it would be,
The western.
on this map, it's, so where Jayhawk Drive comes, this is actually not in the city. Jayhawk Drive goes into a property that's in the county currently. But the part that's kind of up here is, and so, when you pull it up on GIS, you'll see that little like dotted arrow kind of thing, which means the two parcels are really one parcel. It's just that half is in the city and half is in the county, so.
And this being a first reading, we get to sit on it and study it and talk about it. Do we have to bring it up again within 2 weeks, or do we have?
There's no obligation for
No
us to bring it up. Hopefully Steve and Jeff and I can maybe try to untangle it and have a memo for you guys with the issues. And see which direction you guys want to go.
Could we say that we're glad it's you? Sir,
Could I speak to the panhandle regulations?
I don't know why not.
Well, I'm a landowner, and as my wife spoke, we had to tear down some buildings last year because they were getting stricter on things, and they have a 50-foot easement on either side. There are two pipelines that go through there. Both of them are owned by Panhandle. One's a high pressure, one is a low pressure, my understanding. And since they've had their problems up north, that I'm sure y'all remember a couple of years ago, the easement was less years ago, but now the official easement that I was told last year, I haven't spoke to them this year, was 50 foot on either side of their pipeline. We have a pipeline on either side of our house.
Yeah.
We're in the danger zone. I mean, we never had a bit of trouble with Panhandle, none.
We're
But
just glad.
if that helps y'all figure out your decision, it's a larger easement than before, and I don't know whether they will make it larger yet or not.
Well, anything we can, any information we get is helpful,
Sure.
so thank you.
Well, my wife contacted them again, and they assured her what I said.
Good. Anything else?
No, there may be a memo, might not, but we won't bring it up until we have some direction.
It just makes it difficult if we sell the land and they have to go from Ashley Road back to where this lot is we're selling. There's really no place to put another driveway. We have our driveway and then the two pipelines with easements. They would have to somehow connect our driveway to it, and we just really don't want other people, you know.
Coming between our house.
They
and our
may be
garage.
lovely people, but we don't want a lot of traffic right next to our house.
Gotcha. Thank you. Appreciate the
Well,
clarification.
thank y'all. Thanks for putting up with me not knowing all the criteria.
We are all citizens. Reports of standing committees. Parks and Rec.
I missed that meeting, but the minutes are in the packet.
I got to go, and it was a good meeting. And, in a minute, we'll talk about seeing if we can get call some help on folks. Although we did pick up one today, didn't we?
Yes, I just need to get that information to Teresa.
Great. Great. Thanks, Michael. Reports of city officials. City administrator.
Okay, so as promised, I brought some recommendations for,
Let me warn the visitors. We're gonna be talking about the budget. It's really exciting, and if you want to, you can stay and listen, or if you don't want to be too excited, you can leave.
I have a bad heart.
so my memo starts on page 19, and we've provided the current reconciled financials following all the way through 30. So I really am only focusing on two areas. First is tourism, and then the second will be gaming. We'll start with tourism just because it's sort of self-contained, so it's easier to try to pull that apart, whereas gaming feeds into multiple other things. So at the top is the revenue, so you'll just note, and if you brought your budget book, you can see it in there too. We planned for $240,000, which was a reasonable amount before we knew that COVID-19 was going to occur and essentially shut down the hospitality industry for some time. So our year-to-date is $39,503. So I feel fairly confident we're not going to make the 240. So
And this is this is revenue. This
Yes.
is the income.
this is the income. So obviously, along with that, we're not doing as many tours because there's just not as many people. So like I said, we're just not quite going to get there. So I've tried to make some rough adjustments. The one bright spot is we've got a lot more interest, so we're making up a little bit of our money there, but not too much. So in the column that says proposed budget down at the bottom, I was trying to get us down to $119,500. That's probably not really possible. So I made some cuts, and I don't necessarily think we need to vote to approve these. I think if you guys are okay with this general consensus, I'll probably just print this and we'll work off these numbers in the future and try to stay in this line. And then we can do the cleanup amendments at the end when we really see what our numbers came in and if there's any unforeseen circumstances. So just know we're going to cut the advertising. It's a big portion of the budget, and Katie's already cut some of the advertising, obviously, because she said she felt it was weird to say, come to Boonville, but stay safe. So that seemed like a strange message to try to get across. I think many other tourism destinations are feeling the same way. So I cut it a little bit, but I've also left a little in there just to cover some other unforeseen. I think we'll save a little bit on electricity and gas. We cut the special events budget way down, you'll notice. So basically, because we're gonna do a scaled down Christmas in historic Boonville, there's just less money. We won't buy decorations, so we're just not doing any of the extra stuff, but we're still leaving a little bit in there. I cut the buildings and grounds, but that's really only as good as something not happening. But I feel pretty confident that we can make that. Professional services, same thing. I don't anticipate anything that we'll do. Planning for expansion. Landscaping we cut way down. Meetings and conferences, there aren't any, so that's an easy one to get rid of. The other contractual services we cut down. Grants unencumbered. And if you remember, the other contractual services used to be kind of the rainy day fund that we used for just if anything else happened. So anyways, cut, and then we quit grants. So I talked to Katie and I asked her if she had any more events scheduled for this year, and she said that everything she knew of had either been canceled or had already happened. So we're just pulling all of that out of the budget as well. So I managed to estimate that maybe we could get rid of $83,000, which doesn't get us to the 140, but we're getting there. So I think we're still with a hole of about 57,000. Depending on how the use tax comes in, we might be able to plug and on page 20, I talk about this a little more. We might be able to plug a little bit with the use tax, maybe 15,000, but I don't want it. There might be some other place we need that use tax. And then the reserves for tourism, they have 140,000 in claim on cash and $100,000 CD. So they will be able to cover their loss, whatever it looks like. And if we think there's extra money somewhere, we could move some of that money around. But I just can't really cut any more and think that it's practical or achievable. So anybody have any questions about tourism?
Do you use specific special events to save the 14,000?
Basically, like I said, we didn't buy any Christmas, we won't buy Christmas decorations, and we usually spend more money on Christmas in historic Boonville, but because it's pared down, we won't spend as much. So those are some of the big savings. We usually did about maybe 5,000 or 6,000 Christmas decorations, and we keep trying to build every year. So we're just taking a break.
But we didn't lose anything.
No.
Just trying to get familiar here with the budget process. The top part is revenue, is that right?
Yes, sir.
The bottom portion is expenses?
Expenses. Yeah, I should have wrote that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I didn't include the whole budget. I just was looking at ones that we could cut.
Okay. The 261, I'm a little confused about that. Under the annual budget, up top revenue, 261, what is that figure?
So that 261 is all the total. So the 8,000 in the
Almost
sale of
every-
merchandise, the $1,000 interest, the $8,000 in rental, and the $4,000 in.
So they stay as listed, there's no change to those?
Well, under the proposed, I've cut down on our rentals because our bike shop guy didn't. So under proposed budget, I've cut down on the rentals. The
Okay,
bike
I
shop
see.
guy didn't come in. Obviously, we're not giving the amount of car tours that we would normally do. We have no bus tours this year, so that's a huge. So the proposed budget is my new numbers.
Right, gotcha.
And
Okay.
then, yeah, the change is the
Yeah.
far right column.
Yep.
So the far to right column should add up to the annual budget. Proposed and changed.
Rick Elbert, anybody else?
So the next one is gaming. I'll start out with some good news. I got the gaming revenues for this month, and while they were still down, I kind of copied and pasted over to my system. I think originally, as I noted, that I was looking at trying to bring it down to 1.75. If our numbers stayed steady, I think we would be closer to 2, maybe 2.2. So I'm still gonna stick with the 1.75 because there's places where we'll just plug that if we get more gaming revenue than we expected. So for people who haven't heard all of the budget spiel yet, so gaming funds a lot of things, which is part of the trick. So this is a little bit of a puzzle as to what we can supplement with more of some things and cut in certain areas. So I went ahead and put the broad categories of general uses for some new people so that you kind of know where it goes. Every year we do an annual transfer of $680,000 into our general fund. So that's just a subsidy for the expenses of our general fund. It's in this category right here. So, and then COP and debt service is 802,100,000. So that is fire truck, the water tower, this building, the pool. So it's all of our debt that we have. There was some additional debt planned, and I noted that under MP&I. Then the gaming funding is that $130,100. Those are the things that go to Howard County Sheriff's Department, Howard County Prosecuting Attorney, Cooper County Prosecuting Attorney. So just kind of government. We give Pilot Grove, Bunston, and Prairie Home. And Mustang. $1,000 Mustang. So anyways, that's what the gaming funding is. The capital and the miscellaneous items was 711, and that is, so 01, which is basically parks, public works, admin, animal control, basically everything except for water and sewer. They do not pay for any capital out of their own budget currently. So when we need new computers, those sort of things, if we need new trucks, the dump truck, those sort of items. So that's what the capital is. And then MP&I, which is major projects and initiatives, it's at 470, but you'll note that 360 of that is the soccer loan repayment currently. So it's obligated. It's not as flexible, but the original idea behind the MP&I was that you would use that money for projects that would come up. So at first I was going to say maybe 1.9, and then I was feeling more cynical, I guess, so I cut it down some more, and I put us at 1.75, which leaves us with a reduction of 1.15. And so here are some recommendations on cutting, and again, we're not going to get all the way there. And hopefully we won't have to get all the way there. Hopefully the revenues will come up a little bit better than we've budgeted. But so the gaming funding, I have a recommendation there where if you give them both 50% or 75% of what they asked. I suppose you could also do 0, but I didn't go there. So the 50% would be 63.5, the 75 is 95,325. But I'll be honest and say that I left the $1,000 for each of the small towns because it just felt kind of bad cutting $1,000 out of them. But we can. I just left it for now, so I used that off of the 127.1. The transfer to 01 is usually 600. Oh, I have a typo, and I apologize. It should be 580, not 680. So I'm recommending that we might be able to reduce that $100,000. And again, I kind of have to wait. I'm trying to forecast, but one. I think there's some savings that can just be achieved through our routine operations that we didn't do as much of. We received $30,000 in CARES money for the airport, and that's for operations, so that helps offset the operations cost. We also had the swimming pool closed, so that saves us a little bit of money. So I'm not. I think that's doable, but maybe I might be overshooting that a little bit. Some of that will just depend. And I'm also banking on a good sales tax year, but this far our sales tax has come in steady and strong. The use tax is coming in really well as well. So, and then also having a higher dependency on the 05, the CIP tax. So as much as we can put in the capital improvements tax and utilize those funds, I think we can achieve that savings.
wasn't a budgeted swimming pool loss something around 80?
So I think it was more like 120 last year, said and done, 82
After,
years ago.
after we had everything up. So that's a pretty good jump just in by itself. We still have to.
But there's
man up
probably
and
still some.
fix
And we
it
had a
and that
few
kind of stuff.
expenses, and you'll see it in here. So, anyway, I think that's doable. Like I said, there's some factors that make that true or not that we just won't know until probably February and March. Just each month, the picture gets a little clearer. All right, so transfer and debt. Since we refinanced the 2010A, we got some money savings, so that was fortuitous of all of us. So thank you for your support on that. That's going to save us about $100,000. The street overlay, if you guys remember, we scaled that way down. That's a considerable portion of our gaming budget. As you see, it's $300,000. Cut that down to $75,000, and then there's some money in the CIP side also that can support that. Business interruption insurance, I'm saying just discontinue. I think it's awfully costly, and maybe this year it's not worth it, but we can certainly talk about that. Capital replacement, I cut down to 75. Frankly, I've left some of that in there because there's a lot of odd expenses that I'm not sure where they're all gonna come out of when it's all said and done. So I want to make sure that we're not shorting ourselves unrealistically. And then again on MP&I cut it 70, so that still allows some money for the extras, but just the $40,000, the $360 is still obligated. So again, depending on how you cut your gaming funding, you can get to 629 or 649. Your whole is 500 to 528,000. Claim on cash is 1 million in gaming. However, there's claim on cash in 01. CIP has some. So point again is it doesn't all have to come from the gaming money. There's 01 has some savings bond or treasury bonds, that are coming up due. So we might decide to utilize those from the 01 and save some of that claim on cash. So I just put the claim on cash that gaming has, but I don't want you to think that's all that's there. So
Are we comfortable with the cut to the communities? We've talked about it before. We've had discussions on that.
So,
But if you go with the 50%, that means you're basically at $650,000 budget reduction, which is 60% of what we're going to lose because of the closure.
my opinion is we've been very blessed with the gaming money. And all these other communities are going through what we're going through and probably much more. So being that small amount, I don't want to cut them at all myself. But that's just me.
But
Weren't we talking about cutting maybe 20% or so before? I thought we had a discussion in one time.
yeah, we already did cut them. The amount that our gaming had decreased, I think it was 10%, or was it 10%? So we cut them 10% this year.
What did,
So,
Whitney, what did you say?
I don't want to cut them anymore. I think that we've been blessed and we've been able to do a lot of things with our community with this gaming money, and these small communities depend on that money, just like we do. And
We're not cutting the small communities.
that's just,
Small communities, she's got $1,000.
well, so in the police, the best thing to ask for us,
I know, but I still say, our job is to take care of Boonville.
yep, I agree.
I think we should cut them down 50% and take care of Boonville and these small communities. We're doing inspection for them, not charging them a thing, doing everything we can. And I think we need to take care of ourselves first.
We had wasn't there a $200 charge on that?
Yeah, there's a little charge on this.
There's a small charge, $200.
So what's our
Uh-huh.
budget for the year?
plus $15 an hour
Total?
for Steve's tax.
If it goes over 2 days, it's 15 months.
So $100,000 then, $130,000 out of 15 million.
I just was trying
That's
to
just
get
me.
us,
So can we discuss where the money's going and then, I mean, it's going to the sheriff's department and stuff like that still, right?
Yeah, that list that we voted on last year.
Yeah, it's the Howard County Sheriff's Department, Howard County Prosecuting Attorney, New Franklin Police Department, Cuber County Sheriff's Department, Cuber County Prosecuting Attorney, Mustang, City of Blackwater, City of Gunston, and City of Pilot Grove. I suppose too, depending on where you stand, we could maybe do like 2 allotments. That might be another option, so we can see what the revenues look like, and if you don't feel comfortable, then, but
When is that typically done?
in July, so we're, well, and they know they're on hold. I've already sent them a letter and said, we need to figure out what we're doing, so.
So is that the kind of thing that you're suggesting, that we give them 50% now and then look
I
at it again in December?
I'm just saying that's another option.
That's just an option, so we still need to discuss it, right?
Yes.
And you don't have to make a decision necessarily today either. I mean, you guys can think about it. I just knew that we're halfway through the year, so we're far enough along that I felt comfortable trying to forecast a little bit. So I wanted to have you see what I think the holes might be, and then you can decide how we want to try to plug them.
Well,
I
we
think the
need to
city
let,
does benefit from these county functions, and, I mean, it's still needed. So I think we need to discuss it as a council.
All right, are we discussing tonight, or we're thinking about it, and then we're going to discuss
Let's
it
think
the
about
next
it and
meeting?
discuss it.
Okay. I'd not want to put them off longer than we have to. And they've already been put off since July.
well, that's the reason I say, I think we need to go ahead and make a decision and give them at least part of it, so they can, you know, they gotta work on their budget also.
It's a good suggestion.
And, I mean, I don't mind the
We can do
thing
the 50% now, and then if we want to, we could come back.
and give them more
Yeah.
later on, but, I think we should stay with
At least
50%
get
right now,
part of
then
it,
give
and
them
then
some
we
more.
will discuss it.
Can I say something?
I remember in that discussion asking, you know, what kind of outcomes these different towns have for the money we fund, and were they going to provide any information on, I know they don't have the money, but is there something we have to go on to see how that money is used? or
So I
what?
can ask them. How I worded the letter actually was that we had cut them the 10% for this coming fiscal year, and I said in the next fiscal year, we will want a letter as to how, but I'm happy to do that ahead of time if you want, if you'd like to see that. And
It
if
just
helps,
seems like it
please.
would be helpful to know, you know, I'm sure it's being used for good things, but it just would be good to know what their needs are, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, if you guys want, I'm happy to send a letter to all of them, kind of as a follow-up, and let them know, and ask for a response by a certain date, and then you guys could consider that if you'd like.
I wouldn't mind seeing it, I don't know how everybody
Okay.
else feels.
Bobby?
My dog in the fight is Mustang,
Yeah.
and that's our drug enforcement. And if you cut money from that, that's what pays. Somehow, before my time, money was, we used to pay for that out of general fund. Somehow it got switched over to where it is now, for some reason. So we never spend the whole amount, I don't think, but I don't want to cut that amount in case we need it, because that pays for our vehicle, computers for the officer, whatever he needs to do his job for the year. So 50% is not gonna cut it for us. I mean, we're gonna get the money, well, I ain't gonna say we're gonna get the money, but we're gonna need the money there or somewhere else, or we're gonna have to quit doing as much drug enforcement as we do. I mean, we're lucky, we have a full-time officer dedicated to that task force. It's unusual for a town our size, that's why we keep things the way we do, and we make a lot of arrests every year too. So that's my fight. I don't know about the other entities, but I try to conserve the money. I think if you go back and look, you'll see that we've never spent the $20,000 over the years. I try to make it work as much as I can, but I don't want to see our drug enforcement get cut that's what I'm saying. If you guys wanna do it, you can do it, but I'm probably not gonna be the chief anymore if that happens, because I'm just not gonna go through a bunch of cuts and not be able to do our job correctly, because that's not what I envision us doing.
I think I should have been clear. I should have told you, I'm gonna pull it from CIP. So if there's other,
Oh,
because
okay.
I know your expenses are fixed on that drug.
Right.
So we would do the 10,000 up to 10, and then whatever's left, that's my intention on trying to drain, I say
know we're in
drain,
tough-
but use
I know we're in
CIP.
tough times, but to me, we still have to enforce, and so that's just my opinion. Thanks.
What are necessities there, man? Don't you have saying for that?
Yeah, that's it. We need that.
Ask the question, does each entity make a case for their need? Is that,
Yes, and no. To a large degree, they've already been through it.
okay,
So, because we've already made significant cuts.
okay.
But swimming pools, it wasn't a cut, but it's a cut. When we made that decision, we got input on that. It's a good question.
I think he's talking
Yes,
specifically.
let's see, a long time ago, when I first started the city, the gaming funding was open to a much bigger group of people. And every year, presentations were made to council. Morris was on the council. Were you on the council for some of those?
That was a,
And they would come, and it included also some nonprofits in our community. Well, what happened as a result of when the gaming money sort of started declining and some other issues, the nonprofits now use a different pot of money, and they're only competing with themselves. But the council at that time felt like they wanted to continue to support the local government agencies, and share some of the gaming funding. And they didn't require them anymore to do any presentation. So for probably, at least, what'd you say, Morris, maybe,
I'm sorry.
how many years do you think we haven't done haven't had them come? At least 8?
5, 6, 7, I
It's
don't
been, it's
know.
been a while. So then,
It got totally out of hand. We had every Tom, Dick, and Harry for not-for-profit. So the council decided to take these 10.
7 years.
Well, see, I wasn't too far off. We decided to take the top 10. How much is a Mustang?
It's 20.
Well, see, I consider that as taking care of Boonville.
Yeah. And like I said, my thing was to take some of that out of the CIP because I can do a capital purchase out of
And-
CIP and plug that.
But
Whole.
when I say we need to look at Boonville, that would fall under that, Mustang would fall under and not cut them.
But
But
doesn't
cut-
this, I'm sorry. I mean, this has mostly to do with law enforcement, right, county?
Yeah, except for,
This is no, I'm telling you, this is no time to.
But when the vote first came in, the reason this was set up, because they thought we would be flooded with bad checks, and it would increase the job for law enforcement, it would increase the job for the prosecuting attorney and stuff. Well, that hasn't happened.
So you're saying the prosecuting attorney does not need?
Well, I'm saying that, a county and New Franklin and them will be more than happy to take our money, but let them raise their own money. I mean, we've had to raise sales tax and everything, to keep up with things here in Cooper County.
But I thought it was kind of the law enforcement that had to do with the effect of the vote, which would be New Franklin, Howard County also.
It didn't have nothing to do with us getting a vote here.
We didn't need more law enforcement because of the vote or anything.
I don't think Bobby they haven't, New
Well,
Franklin.
We had 2 officers when the casino came, that's what I.
But I'm talking about here in Boonville, it's,
Well, here's what I can tell you, and I'm not an expert, but I can tell you back when they were wanting the casino in, this was part of the deal that they made with the state. The state, I wouldn't say they mandated it, but they made it pretty clear if you wanted to get a casino, you need to share this money with some of the surrounding communities for law enforcement or whatever it was.
you're true.
But now,
That county, Howard County was bidding on the vote, just
That's
like
right.
Cooper County.
That's right.
And it never was mandated or promised, it was just suggested that we would share the money with the law enforcement and the
From what I
prosecuting
remember, it was
attorney.
strongly suggested that you share the money to get your application through.
Well-
That's what and I don't think it's mandated, the state does not mandate or anything like that.
I mean, I
And
was
we
up-
haven't seen, I'll be the first one to admit, I thought we'd have traffic all over the dang place. And what we find out is traffic moves in, traffic moves out, it's really just a flow that's
You know-
not as much. But to say the prosecuting attorney's not getting more work or something is not right. They're getting more work, because cases are being made down at the casino every day.
Yeah.
For people, you know, not, whatever they arrest them for, the highway patrol does down there, what we do, we don't take care of the gaming floor, we take care of everything else, but we answer a lot of, well, I won't say we answer a lot of calls, we answer calls down there just like we do at Pilot. There's nothing extraordinary about it, it's kind of the same deal like a big truck stop or something, but there's more work for the prosecutors, for sure. They get more cases now, surrounding communities, that's another.
No, but we made it clear to them, if the revenue of the boat went down, then the money that we was
I
gonna
think
share
that's,
is going
I think
down.
that's correct.
So, I mean, you know, I just don't, our first obligation is Boonville.
Where are we? Do
I
we
just
wanna
had one
fund?
more comment.
Sure.
You know, I'm not necessarily opposed to these towns getting the money, but it seems like they need to be able to account for how they spend it. Otherwise, we're just issuing a blank check essentially for we don't know what. And I'm not saying they're misusing it, it's just good, responsible approach to know how that money is being applied for these towns. That's all.
And to answer that, Susan, that's the council's fault. They used to do that every year. And we told them they didn't have to do that no more.
Yeah, I certainly would agree. I think accountability is critical. I think it makes sense if we're giving money, then there should be an account of what it's used for. So that, to me, makes sense.
All right, so we've got accountability as a question. We got the amount as a question. Is there anybody that disagrees with the accountability? Okay, so that's point number one. We want accountability from the folks that we give the money to, on how they use it, how they expend it.
And didn't we already send them a letter stating that?
I
So I
don't
think
know.
we're already in the process of that.
For next fiscal, like when I initially sent the letter, because we had already decided
Because we've
on,
already went through this.
in March when we were discussing it. So I sent them a
Yeah.
letter and told them we were cutting them the 10% and that next year we would be asking for an accounting of their funds.
Is
So all
we in
that's
next
taken
year?
No, we're
We're
not.
not in next.
No, we're not.
Not
We're
yet.
not in 21, 22 yet.
Okay, all right. All right, so do we wait for next year for the justification, or do we go ahead and press that for this year?
I think the letter's already been sent. I think
It's already planned out.
It's already-
Justification comes to us next year. All right, so now we talk about what we want to do as far as a commitment today, or do we want to put them off toward the end of the year, calendar year, not fiscal? Steve?
So we have not paid them anything for
No,
this
we
year?
typically pay them July.
Yeah, we normally pay them in July, and at that time, the casino hadn't even opened. I think, I was just like, I don't know what's going on, so I just didn't do anything initially, and I sent them that letter. And I did say, I'm sorry, we're kind of on hold due to the circumstances, and said, here's what we allocated for you this year, but I'm not guaranteeing that.
Well, can we send them the 50% of what they have coming this year and decide on the rest?
Later, is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I'm just paying right now 50% and then discuss the rest of it.
So we'll discuss the rest of it
I
in
think
December
I
or
think it's
January.
Yeah.
Is that agreeable? Do we have heads going?
Yeah.
Okay, we have heads going.
Do you want me to keep, like I said, I pulled Blackwater, Bunston, and Pilot Grove. Do you want me to only send them 50%, or do you want me to send 1,000? I included the 1,000 in the budget.
Send 1,000.
All right, do we have heads going up and down for that too?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, we will do those
this week then. Did anyone have any other questions about this?
Let's make sure that every one of us understands that, as it stands right now, we think, my initial number was 1.3 million. Kate's was 1.1 million. We pretty much verified that we're looking at 1.1 in income reduction from the vote in this fiscal year. Okay? If it comes as any question to y'all, now you know. That's a big number. Go ahead, Kate.
Well, I don't really have anything else other than just to say if, you know, if you guys are welcome, if you have any questions about what's in the budget, I'm happy to talk to you, and look at those things. But if you're in general agreement with this sort of idea, I think, like I said, I'm probably just gonna cut this out and staple it into my budget workbook and just try to work towards these numbers. And then, again, later in the year, we'll do a formal, real budget amendment. But at that point in time, we'll have a better sense for the numbers, so.
And then a bit of a warning. We're gonna cut these expenses. We've already cut expenses. Paul's already made his list. Jeff's made his list. We're already doing that. We know we're doing that. What do we not cut? The library. Why? Because you're gonna be asked.
It's from the separate sales.
Right. It's a separate tax. It was dedicated strictly for the library. And by the way, that tax is running ahead of where we expected it to. But you're gonna see the library project continue to roll. And you're gonna be asked about it, maybe. If only in your own home. Okay. Kate, anything else?
I don't have anything else.
My turn. Parks and Recreation Board Committee members. Paul, I happened to go to the meeting on Wednesday because I had some other curiosities, and I was really pleased. With the three folks you've got, they're interested, they want to do good, they're bought in. That's cool to see. He had 2 vacancies, he filled one of them today. This is not an unusual thing for boards right now. One of the things that Kate and I are going to be discussing is how we figure out a way to get the boards to the point where they meet regularly, whether it's quarterly or whether it's semi-annual or whether it's monthly, whatever, and teach us and therefore teach the public what's going on with these boards. And that meeting helped. Paul to solidify my thoughts there. Kate and I will get together and then we're going to sit with the department people. One of the prime examples of a great board and consistent reports is the police board. Have you noticed that we always get information from the police board? The reason for that is because Bobby takes the stuff to them, talks to them about it. They don't necessarily agree or disagree with Bobby, but he takes them and he puts it in front of them, even the day-to-day stuff. And we've kind of gotten out of that habit, and we probably need to get back. I won't go on and on and on about that because I could, but I won't. We will continue to work on that. Please, if you see somebody or you talk to somebody that you think can help us on Parks and Rec, get the name to Paul, okay? Majority of a quorum. Don't say anything. All right. Some council person tell me what's a majority of a quorum for us?
5?
How many people?
5? 5?
5.
No.
No?
No. What's the quorum? The quorum is 5.
Is that what you asked?
That's the minimum number of council people that we have to have in order to vote on anything. So, what's the majority of a quorum?
3.
Could be 3.
3. Yeah, I don't know whether you've been watching those video things, those video training things. The guy that handled the very first segment emphasized that, but it still didn't come across as what it needs to be. As council people, a council person can meet with another council person, have lunch, talk about whatever they want. A council person cannot meet with 2 people, because that's 3, and that's a majority of a quorum. It's law. Council people get dismissed for breaking that law. We gotta be careful with that, okay? And you know what? It does reduce our ability to communicate with one another. But we can still communicate with one another. Morris and I have been friends for, 30 years, 35 years? We probably don't want to admit that. And we talk all the time. But how are we careful? We make sure that we don't have anybody else with us. Even if it's just talking about Paulette or talking about my years with Cindy. We still make sure, okay? So let's all be careful. Steve?
So what if we walk out this door and 3 of us have a conversation?
Gotta be careful. You shouldn't do it, to tell you the truth, because there's no way to prove what you talked about.
Right.
You know, you should be innocent because all you did was talk about what's the best beer that you're gonna drink tonight, right? But because it's a majority of a quorum, you shouldn't do it. And that's a punishment. Mike, Whitney, you guys are friends. So you got 2 of you? Somebody walks up on you, one of you's gotta walk away. Okay, it's goofy, it's absolutely goofy, but it's the law. Okay? All right, in unison, what's the majority of a quorum for our council? How many?
3.
Steve?
Yeah, but a 6 is a quorum also.
So
Or
it's
7's a quorum,
It's
so it'd be 4.
5, 6, 7, 8, those are
Could be.
quorums. Right,
It's just not 3.
yeah, so stick to 2. Okay? Any questions? All right, I don't get to have to do a lecture very often, that's kind of fun. You know?
That was a good training.
Yes, it was training. Economic developer, hi Gigi.
Hi, guys.
Where were you on Sunday?
I was in Roachport.
I know.
I'll talk about that. I will try to go through this really fast since you guys have kind of had a long meeting. Okay, I wanted to update you from last quarter and touch base what I had talked about. Mizzou Health Clinic opened at the Isle of Capri, which you guys know, July 6th, with offices Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. They're still on a limited scale, and we're still working on that. We have a community steering committee that is in communication with the group of MU administrators and doctors, and we're continuing to meet and hear their progress and bringing more services to the Boonslick area. So the work is ongoing. Telemedicine grant that I had told you last I was working on had been dropped by the University of Missouri with hopes. They just said at our last meeting with these MU administrators that they are hoping to revisit that again. They said that due to resources, they weren't able to implement that, and we were really far along with that, so that was very disappointing to me, but hopefully they'll pick it up, or we'll find maybe someone else who can. The water easements are ongoing. We have 3 unsigned agreements. I've followed up with one of those today and haven't got a return phone call. And actually, that's my second call into him today. Continuing to receive updates, bi-weekly reports from the Missouri Department of Economic Development and Show Me Strong Recovery Initiative. Currently, if there's any forms or reports that need to be updated, as I told you last quarter, that I was sending those to the chamber, but their part-time employee had quit, so I'm not really sending those, but there's still resources for people to get on there and look at the old ones of who to contact through the SBA. All those old documents still have the same contact information. So if there's any more forms with CARES Act or anything like that, there's still resources out there for people to reach. And that's why this community calendar is going to be really important for us, because maybe that could be an area where we can put information like this. Speaking of the community calendar efforts are continuing. The committee administered an RFQ request with response from 4 potential companies to assist in the design administration of the calendar. Of those 4, we had a professional come in that knew how to review them for us and gave us kind of a scenario of each one and what each thing meant that they were requesting, and we've narrowed it down to 2 that we would like to pick from and maybe call them in and have an interview with them. And that's what our plans are. And as far as funding this calendar, I have submitted a request to Mid-Missouri Regional Planning Center for funds for this project. And verbally, I was told that we are in a great position to receive these funds. So hopefully, along with some of the ones that you dedicated, is going to need a little bit more. Hopefully, this will totally be funded. So that was great news. New updates. I joined a committee in working on the 2nd annual Boonville Educational and Employment Expo, which was pushed back to November 19th to be held at the Isle of Capri. I've got the registration as boonvilleexpo.weebly.com. Audrey Phelps is amazing with Central Missouri Community Action, and she's kind of the leader of the meeting. To date, they've got 20 exhibitors already signed up, hoping to have more. The expo is connecting the open workforce to potential employees and students to higher technical training and or higher education. So it's both for employees, employers, or for students to get higher education or come in and get employment right out of high school. It's a great part of the committee to connect employers to the available workforce too. I organized a roundtable in July with Caleb Rowden, and he asked that I bring together some area businesses and companies, and it was a great discussion. Several things were addressed and questions were answered, and overall was a positive meeting. And then in July 21st, or August 21st, I met with Hannah Larrick, representative of Senator Blunt's office. I'm new to this. I don't know how all the politics work, so I was just reaching out to the politicians to see how we get help, who do we contact, and things like that. So that's all I'm trying to figure out. Several RFI requests have crossed my desk from Missouri Partnership, Project Eagle, Project Silver, Project Mighty, Project Safety, Project Wizard, Project Elmo. And of those 6 that came across, we were really in close contention with Project Eagle, and even got to the interview stage, but they decided not even to come to the U.S. at all because of the tariffs that are being imposed. So it wasn't anything that we did as a community or as a committee to draw them in. It was just something we couldn't control. I'm working on an entrepreneur right now, wanting to locate in Boonville, has a fantastic product, which I have sampled. She has futuristic ideas for expansion, And so right now, I'm working with a local building owner to see if he can't retrofit his building to meet her needs. She's been able to obtain funds from MASBA to help her get started, and I'm hoping that this will be a potential for a new business in our town. And speaking of entrepreneurs, I'm partnering again with Missouri Women's Business Council, Jennifer Shank, to have a virtual Launch You course. I don't know if you guys remember when I first started, I wanted to have this Launch You course, and it's a great course to get entrepreneurs. It's a 7-week course. It's going to be held at night. This is going to be virtual. We're going to try that. But we're still going to try to walk them through how to do a business plan and every aspect of starting a business that is so hard to get started. And this entrepreneur that I'm trying to coax to come to Boonville with her product, I even see how she could benefit, and I sent her this entrepreneur class. There are scholarships. Ameren UE is going to donate a scholarship, Central Bank. So there's an application for scholarships on their website. And if anyone wants a flyer, I'm going to leave some here that you can pick it up. So anyone that you know that has a great idea, please have them take that class. It is just awesome. I haven't been through it, but they've walked me through the process. Met with a spokesman and woman with Socket, and they're still working on putting Wi-Fi in Sunset Trails area. They're working with Ameren to work out details to be able to get the cables to the location. Since they couldn't quite work something out just yet, they moved to adding cable or broadband to Lake Farrell and Hillcrest. I attended a 3-day virtual Governor's Economic Development Convention. Many topics were discussed and new ideas. Of course, broadband is upfront and personal with everyone. There's still a push to install underserved and not served counties. There's still work in progress. I think I told you the last time the Federal Communications Commission maps show that Cooper County is 100% served. It is not. And when I investigated on that, it was because they have, if you have a census block, I checked my area, and if you know where I live on Scenic Drive, and the front part of Scenic Drive is served, but no one else on the whole thing is served at all. We are totally underserved, not served. But it says that our whole census block is served. So that's how they're just a bad map, and the state is trying to rework those out. Because as we know, there are a lot of kiddos that aren't getting served and have to get their education from home. Another thing from the conference, big thing, is the talk of electric vehicles are in our near future. I've been in communication with Ameren about charging stations, and there are charging stations at Walmart, but they're not the fast charging that are being put up, and motorists are demanding. So it's something that companies and cities are already investing in, these fast charging stations. So that's something to look forward to. Telemedicine, of course, is been widely adopted by doctors who'd never thought they'd use it, and they're seeing that that's really important. So it was really important to me that telemedicine, that MU was saying that they would like to revisit that. And then another big thing that is just something over my head is analytics and technology are playing an important role in the businesses and development markets. Joplin is a town taking advantage of this data to strategically grow. The technology in general is being used at new levels with video, photography, drone shots, and placing them on YouTube to market their town, assets, sites, and buildings and businesses. They're strategically going after different markets. So they don't want the whole market. They may want to plan some kind of a development here, say a new automobile industry. So they are strategically through analytics, getting all that data of what resources are being used to do that. I had a company call me and go over whole area. He was showing me our Walmart, and based on cell phones now, they know where all of our shoppers are from. They don't get so specific as to where you live, but they can show on a map where the majority of the people are coming in and shopping at our Walmart, or what areas that they go to and how far they are, where the condensed. They know your income. There's a lot of information that's being used with our cell phones now, not just your credit cards. At once we knew about the credit cards doing that, but now it's your cell phones that are giving them this information. This company that I'm talking to is showing me how he can show with analytics and say we want a Dairy Queen, which I hear so much. He can show how we can take this data, go to Dairy Queen, and show them how we would be able to support them here, so we can target that particular retail restaurant. So that was really interesting. The governor's economic development convention was rewarding and eye-opening for sure. Speaking of technology, Como Electric has something up their sleeve that I can't discuss right now, but it's in the works. They're investing in our community, and I had the opportunity to spend a day with a Como executive and a talented executive filming producer from the state of Minnesota. So stay tuned for next quarter, and hopefully I can share with what they're doing. I'm volunteering on a committee for the revitalization and future sustainability of D Barracks. Lots of exciting work is coming out of that, which is this. I have an amazing committee, and I'm hoping we can do something with that too. It's kind of exciting, and once we get more concrete things, I'll share that with you. I've had various meetings, phone conversations with individuals and teams which have reached out to me, and I got their resources from the Chamber of Commerce, referred me names, the City of Boonville, the county commissioners have all referred me. I've been able to follow up with all of them, and actually today one just called me and said, I'm outside your front door, so I walked out and I kind of showed him some area. I will call anyone. If you have a lead, just give it to me and let me follow up, and we never know where it's going to take us. And finally, I knew I was going to be riding to Roachport yesterday, and Karen Esser with the Chamber sent me information that the Missouri Parks Director and other park officials were having a meeting regarding the MKT park. I stayed for the meeting, and trust me, they heard my disappointment through my questions and comments. But to sum it up, the MKT trail that is damaged due to the 2019 flood between us and Roachport, at the earliest, Mike Sutherland, Director of Missouri State Parks, said at the earliest would not be completed till the end of next year. So, any questions? Comments?
Thanks, Gigi.
You're welcome. I'm going to sit these here if you guys want to take one on your way out, too.
City Clerk.
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Any miscellaneous, Steve? No. Any miscellaneous?
Yes, I do. I want to thank Bobby and his team. I had a little vandalism and a few things stolen on Saturday night, but his team worked swiftly and professionally and got my stuff back and taken care of. So I appreciate the Boonville Police
But
Department.
they did a good job.
Yeah. You look like you've been taken care of. Good for you. Any other miscellaneous? Albert?
I had one item I wanted to, most of you may be aware of this, but I wanted to, at least this body recognize 4 merchants that was recognized in the Missouri Life magazine out of Boonville. That was the Big Muddy Folk Festival, the Yummy Donut Shop, Forest Hill, and Hotel Frederick. So I didn't want that recognition to go unnoticed here. So
Good.
the good job they were doing.
It's a good magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Mike's the second, first and second. Anybody want to?
Jake?